Yeah, well, we're very excited. This weekend is the greatest rivalry in college baseball. I think the best series in college baseball. So we've prepared very hard yesterday, and we'll prepare very hard today for it. So just very excited to get this thing started.
Mark, I saw the probable pitching matchups. What are your Sunday plans right now? Is it an either-or situation? Will it depend on the bullpen use?
Yeah, it'll depend a lot on the bullpen use. We just wanted to maintain some flexibility there. Ridge has done well, but we also have some other guys that have pitched really well. So we'll evaluate the series as it's going. We'll decide who we need to use in games 1 and 2, and then make decisions for game 3 based on what we see. He's a possibility, yeah.
Mark, you just referred to it as the greatest rivalry in college baseball. What do you think about the concept of playing it in 3 different venues?
I think it's tremendous. Our state loves baseball. Our state loves both these schools. Obviously, they're usually split, but I think it's great that we get to have our community celebrate it and watch it in person. Their community gets to do the same, and then there's a neutral site where people from all over the state get to go there and be a part of such a great event. So I think it's perfectly done, and I'm proud to be a part of it.
Have you been talking to the players about what type of atmosphere you'll find in each venue, and just as you look forward to your first Carolina-Clemson series?
Yeah, I've tried to talk to a lot of people. I like to be well informed. I like to be prepared. So I've talked to Coach Tanner about it. I've talked to, obviously, Stuart Lake is the coach on our staff that has the most experience with it. Our players, a lot of our players have been a part of it. So yeah, we're all in the information gathering. At the end of the day, we still need to play our best baseball to win, and whether it's here, whether it's in Clemson, whether it's at the neutral site, we need to play great baseball. But yeah, I like to be prepared. So I've talked to a lot of different people about what to expect.
Mark, obviously back-to-back losses now coming into the series. How do you fix some of those offensive problems coming into Friday night?
Yeah, I think how you handle adversity, how you handle a little rough patch, which is what the last 2 games were. I think that defines a team, it defines coaches, it defines players, and we're going to use it as a way to improve what maybe we were getting away with. The first 7 games, if we would have talked after the first 7 games, obviously we were on a 6-game win streak. We were averaging, I think at that point, probably 10, 11 runs a game, and we were feeling pretty good about ourselves. Then we had 2 games where our offense sputtered a little bit, and it gave us an opportunity to see how teams would attack us once they start to get more footage on us. So we're going to use it as a way to understand what we need to continue to improve. No team is ever perfect, and the good teams make adjustments as you go. So we were doing a lot of great things through the first 7 games. The last 2 games showed us a few things that we need to continue to work on and focus on. So we're going to make sure that those 2 losses actually end up helping us in the long run.
What are some of those things?
I'm not going to give you the secrets away, so those will be kept in-house.
Mark, you talk about being well-informed and talking to Coach Tanner and things like that have been involved in this rivalry. How important is it to you? Well, the recent history of it, obviously, has gone in Clemson's direction. Sure. How important is it for you to get this thing going back when Coach Tanner had it rolling like he did?
Well, we want to win. There's no question about it. We want to win for our team, for our school, for our fans. We want to win. We don't hold that back. We want to win every game we play. We want to win this series very much so. So that will never change. That's always been the case. That will always be the case. We want to win very badly, and we're going to do everything we can to win these games.
How do you balance the intensity that you want to bring to this and bouncing back from a couple of games in a row that didn't go your way with keeping guys relaxed and not being overly hyped up again?
Yeah, great question. I think the key is to make sure that they understand there's going to be a lot of emotion on the outside. There's going to be a lot of emotion in the stands. There's going to be emotion in the dugouts. But when you're on the mound or you're in the batter's box or you're on the field and it's your turn to make that play, you have to maintain that calm. You have to maintain that focus. So to me, that's part of being an athlete in big games. You have to walk that fine line of understanding it's emotional, and if you use that in a good way, it will keep you very sharp. You'll get a little bit more adrenaline that you can use in your favor. You just can't let it go too far. To me, that's part of making sure our players are in a good spot.
Do you have any specific memories, or is there a moment maybe from this series that you can recall that stands out to you?
Just a lot of big home runs. I've watched a lot of the highlights, a lot of the big home runs that I've seen. Just the pure emotion of it, I think, is what stands out the most. That jumps off the TV screen on the games that I've watched, just the emotion when something good goes your way, you know, just the dugout, the crowd. I just think that's exciting baseball, and to me that's what jumps out the most. It's just that pure raw emotion.
Mark, what do you see from Clemson that they do really well, and how do you think Adam matches up against their lineup?
Well, they're a good team all the way around. You know, if you look at the numbers, the offensive numbers, both teams are very similar. The defensive numbers, very similar. The pitching numbers, very similar. So I think both teams are very good, solid, well-rounded teams. I don't think either team has just an obvious weakness that you say we're going to exploit that. So it's going to come down to who makes pitches, who gets big hits, who's smart on the bases, who makes the big play, who doesn't do anything to beat themselves. That's what it's going to come down to. It's going to come down to who plays the best baseball. The teams, as far as I can tell, are very evenly matched on the stat page. So now it's a matter of who handles the situations better, who manages their emotions, and who's ready to get the big hit or make the big pitch.
What is your evaluation of Seth Beer, and have you thought about how you will approach him if the game is on the line in the latter innings and he's coming up to the plate?
Yeah, we're prepared. We will be a prepared team. Not going to give away any of our secrets and strategy going into the weekend. But he's obviously a very high quality hitter, one of the premier power hitters in our game, and so he'll be treated as such. And the situations will always dictate our decisions. We'll have information behind the decisions we make, whether it's a score of the game, whether it's a left-right matchup, whether it's who's in the game for us, whether it's how he fares against lefties versus righties. We'll have all that information, and at the end of the day, we'll make what we feel is the best decision, and then trust our players to make plays.
Have you ever crossed paths with Monty Lee at all, and what is kind of your relationship, and now that you two are kind of starting?
Yeah, we don't know each other very well. I think there's a mutual respect. I've run into him a little bit on the road, in the recruiting circles, and we've talked a few times over the phone since I took the job. Him being a former assistant coach here, I think he has a respect for this program, like he should, and I think there's a mutual respect between us.
Just to make certain, Ridge is healthy, correct?
Correct, 100%.
All right. And as far as Clemson's pitching staff goes, they came in with less experience in some ways as your team did. Anything about their pitching staff surprise you based on what you've seen from them?
Well, I think they came into the season much like us, wondering what are we going to get out of all these new guys, and so I think they're probably pretty pleasantly surprised with the results they're getting. They've got a really quality team ERA right now. They have some guys that have gotten better. So I think they feel like they're in a pretty good place pitching-wise right now. So we do as well. I think the teams are very similar.
From the moment you stepped on campus, between fans, your own players, and Ray Tanner, who's told you more about this rivalry, had more unsolicited advice?
Fans. They love this rivalry, as they should. I mean, it's electric. But yeah, every time I speak, everybody I meet, they point to how important this series is to them. So I respect that immensely. I respect how important it is to everybody. So as I said, we're going to do everything we can to give ourselves a chance to win. Fate will decide who wins these games, but we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we have a great chance to do that.
Coach, how's Madison's hamstring doing, and will we see him in the field this weekend, and kind of how important is it to get his bat in the lineup?
Yeah, obviously Madison had a nice game the other night in the DH role. We're going to evaluate where he is today just to make sure that he's making good progress. But there's a good chance he'll be right in the thick of things this weekend.
That was my question, but I'll follow up on it. What did you think of the way the other night, he had a 6-game layoff, and he comes in as DH, and he's basically takes up right where he left off?
Yeah, that was impressive. But when your swing becomes very technically sound, the adjustment period is less. He had been working hard to make sure that his eye stayed consistent. He was able to stand in against pitchers in the bullpens, and that's something we really stressed to him. Make sure you're still watching pitches from 60 feet 6 inches when our guys are in the bullpen, so you don't lose your batter's eye. And then his swing now has become so technically sound that it was just a matter of him getting his pitch in the game and putting good swings on it. So to me, I wasn't surprised because he's put a lot of hard work into it, and I just think that's the kind of hitter he's developing into.
What are the challenges of playing a series of this magnitude against an evenly matched opponent like this as early in the season as it is?
Well, I think it's good because, one, your guys are excited and it keeps them sharp, and they're willing to make sure that they're prepared because they know how important it is. But by the same token, you're playing a really quality opponent that's going to show you what you need to continue to work on. Obviously, we're pretty confident in a lot of areas of our team, and we'll get more information to evaluate after this weekend. We're playing a quality opponent, and so we'll know where's our pitching stand, where's our hitting stand, is our defense good enough. This is a good insight into what we need to do to be among the best teams in the country.
How much do you pay attention to scores throughout college baseball or opponents you play during the season? Is that something you look at on a nightly basis, or do you just kind of look at the opponent coming up?
Obviously, we do a tremendous amount of work on our next opponent, but as a college baseball fan, we follow it absolutely. We like to see trends. We want to see who's trending up, who's trending down. I want to see, truthfully, sometimes when you lose a game like you felt like you shouldn't have lost, every now and then it's good to see that there's other great programs that have a slip up every now and then, just to remind you that it's baseball and it can't always go your way 100% of the time. So, yeah, I love baseball. I love college baseball. I love keeping up with everything going on in our game. So, yeah, absolutely, we check scores because I want to see. I just want to see everything I can about this game.
Mark, Tommy Moody was talking, I think this week, about some pretty tough 3-game sets over a weekend, and he was saying that he would rather, lose on Friday night and then win on Saturday and Sunday. So I guess that leads me to this question: do you like the way the schedule is set up, having the Friday night game here and then having to go play 2 games in the Upstate Saturday and Sunday?
Well, with all due respect to Tommy, one thing you'll never hear me say is I would prefer to lose at the beginning of any sentence. We're just focusing on one game at a time, and I know that's coach speak, and I know that's what most coaches will tell you, but truthfully, we're going to come out and be prepared to try to play our best on Friday, and then on Saturday morning, we're going to get on a bus and get ready to go play that game and try to win that game, and then when that game's over, we're going to focus on going to Clemson and trying to play our best on Sunday. Yeah, all that stuff, I think that's more, for fans to talk about and for the media. To me, just we're playing to win our next game.
From all your, Mark, from all your years of coaching, what would you compare? What other rivalry out there would you compare this to on a national scope?
Well, when you say compare, obviously I want to make sure I'm on record as saying I think this is number one. Other rivalries that I've seen or been a part of that are considered some of the best. When I was at Tulane and we were the #1 team in America in 2005. That era of Tulane baseball, when I was there, we were a top 5 team pretty consistently. So the LSU-Tulane rivalry at that point was huge. We used to play a neutral site game in the Superdome where the Saints play, and we had crowds 27,000 one year, 26,000 one year. So it was a big deal in that state. Tulane-LSU, the baseball rivalry at that point, I think we set records for crowds at that point for a college baseball game in the Superdome. So to me, that was a big one. Being at Miami, the Miami-Florida series was really big. The Miami-Florida State series was probably even a little bit bigger than that because it's an ACC rivalry now. At that time, Miami was independent, but those 2 rivalries were huge. But I'd say in terms of great rivalries around the country, I'd put Clemson, South Carolina #1, and those that I just mentioned are probably to tick below that.
A little off topic, but I know you keep up with a lot of trends in the majors and then in professional baseball. I know they try to make some changes to pace of play. I was just wondering your thoughts on that and kind of where do you see that kind of trickling down to the college game if they try to speed things up?
In terms of pace of play, which specific rules are you talking? Yeah, the extra runner thing, I don't think you'll find many people in baseball wanting to put runners on base that haven't earned their way there. I think most baseball people will say they don't like that. Pace of play, I'm fine with. I don't think anybody, media, fans, players, coaches, I don't think anybody wants 4-hour games. But I just think you have to understand it's also a sport that was designed without a clock, and you don't want to force the issue. It's a game that's played at a good pace. I think what causes slow games is when coaches are too slow with getting their signs in and players are too slow with getting in the box between pitches, or pitchers are working too slow. I think if we just continue to encourage the people within the game to make sure that we're not taking too much time there. I mean, we had a game earlier, about a week ago, I think. There was a 2-hour and 15-minute game, if I'm not mistaken. It was a well-played game. We minimized walks on both sides, and it was a well-played game. So to me, you just want to make sure if it's good quality baseball and nobody's taking too much time in those areas, pace of play doesn't seem to be an issue.
Mark, we've seen you go out and talk to the umpire several times this year, but nothing too heated so far.
Right.
What is your style and your approach when you go out to question a call?
Well, number one, when you go out and question calls, you always want to show your team that you have their back. That's the number one reason you leave the dugout. Number two reason is occasionally you think you might have some information that could get the call changed. And that's not always when you go out. I mean, sometimes you go out there and you know there's no way this call can be changed, but you just want to make a statement to your team that, hey, it didn't go our way, but I'm going to go out there and have your back. And I think that's important for a team to know that their leader has their back. I don't think you'll ever see me get too heated. I try to be measured enough. I've been thrown out of games in the past, and it's very overrated. It feels good for about 5 minutes, and then you wonder why the heck am I not in the dugout with my team. So I'll always go out there to make sure our team knows I have their back. Sometimes you'll have information that you think you might get a call turned back into your favor. But I'll generally do it in a way that I think gets the point across firmly sometimes. But I have no interest in getting thrown out very often. All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you.